everybody. Happy New Year's Eve to you. Hope you guys are having an excellent day. Good afternoon, good evening to you if you guys are in that part of the world that's already celebrating New Year's. I see Talos Mobius in chat, so welcome to another build stream, the last live stream of the year here over on Midnight Hatter. This came as a bit of a surprise. I was going to do some other recording and editing and things going on, but unfortunately I found out, and I will show you here, that my particular model of Amazon Fire TV stick does not run the APK that I needed for the Lola PC app. So what I had hoped is that tomorrow there was going to be a video where I was playing GBO2 on an Amazon Fire TV stick. That is not going to be able to happen, so I'm going to have to settle for GBO2 on a Raspberry Pi, but that video will be coming soon. As you can see, my set decoration has gone down a little bit. I have less lights set up and everything. I mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned last week that, you know, we're redoing the floors down here in the basement. We haven't started that yet, and so a lot of my stuff has been torn down and we're kind of stripping things back. So I don't have the full stream accoutrement with us, and I'm actually not even going to be able to finish my monthly creator challenge, which, you know, that stuff is all packed up in the garage. I had a video on Silinot and Oyamaru that I was planning on making. I actually got I got most of the footage done. I still needed to finish installing the LED in the head that we were making. But you guys are going to see that next year, early next year. After these floors are done, I'm going to have a whole new studio, whole new setup, and, you know, we're even going to do some new intro graphics, because I really liked the intro graphics that Adam and I put together for the Year in Gundam event. I thought that was really cool. I want to have that as like a regular thing going forward, so that's coming in the new year. Yeah, just a lot of exciting things coming in the new year, and so I figured before we get into that, we can do some classic, just build and chill stream. Today's stream, of course, is sponsored by my good friend Ultronimus. I see you in chat, who so kindly provided me with my very first Gundam Seed kit. As you guys know, I am not a huge Gundam Seed guy. I do like Gundam Seed Destiny, which seems like an unpopular opinion, but I have to admit that when it comes to the Gundams of Gundam Seed, the Justice is my favorite. So, good taste. And actually, when I was first getting back into Gunpla, you know, years ago, this was like when the Real Grade line had just started, and I recall that the Justice Gundam was one of the top of the initial launch. Because let's see, what number is this one? So this was number 9. This actually was so this came out just before the number 10 Real Grade, which was my favorite, the Zeta Gundam. So this was early in the lineup when they were still doing like the full frame on a kit, like this guy. And this one was rated as one of the top ones before they started, you know, branching out and doing all of that stuff. So I'm excited for this kit for a lot of reasons, for that reason. Oh, give me just a second. I just got a ping here. Oh, I can get back to that in just a second. Yeah. So, with all that in mind, let me go ahead and switch to our little table view here so you guys can see the other sponsor of today's stream, GundamExplained, which I don't know if you're going to be able to see the logo. It's a very subtle logo, but here I have the prototype of the build mat that he designed, which is fantastic. Mine turned out really well. I'm excited to use it. Obviously, a keyboard would go up here. I'm going to use it for my tools because I've got, you know, a little L-shaped desk, so I've got my keyboard and my trackpad over here. There's a spot for the mouse up here. We've got arms right and left, legs right and left, the head unit right here, the GundamExplained, very subtle branding, the torso, backpack, and accessories. overall, this thing is awesome. Obviously, it's huge. I mean, like hand for scale. This is the highest that I've ever had to set my camera, and it's actually the highest that it goes. So let's just dive into it, see how far we can get, um, and we'll dive into it from there. Give me just a second here. I do want to make sure that I acknowledge this ping. I don't want to let it go. I think I want to. Oh, good to see you, Nintendo gal. Had a brief power outage bump. Well, hopefully your power stays on tonight. This would be one of the worst nights of the year to lose power for sure. Ultronimus, this mat is so cool. I agree. It's fantastic. Now, I will stress that, like Adam said last week on the show, on the Gundam Explained show, it is a neoprene mat. It is not designed for cutting. Like, technically, I guess you could cut on it, but, be aware that it's not like a self-healing cutting mat the way that, um, you know, you, you know what I'm talking about, like that kind of cutting mat. But, it is designed specifically for building, not necessarily like customizing and things like that. But I think it's really cool because it's light colored. It's not pure white. So this is what's cool is like you can see white parts on it pretty clearly. Obviously dark parts no problem. But so the fear of like losing a really small part is minimized by having this nice clean workspace to work on. So um let's see if I can just yeah, I apologize for this. I've got support on the line for me for this project that I'm working on. It's actually hilarious because just as I was mentioning that I wasn't able to get the Fire TV stick working, the folks over at Lola PC just reached out to me. So I do want to be respectful of their ping and respond uh, in a timely fashion. So let me actually just do that here real quick because that might be easy. All right. Um, Yikes. I don't know that I'd build on it. Seems like a slight bump would send pieces everywhere. No, actually, no. This is what's nice is it's like it's actually heavy and like the neoprene is nice. So it's like you really can't. I mean, well, let's do a little test here. This is okay. So actually, let's start building it. That would make more sense, right? So we are looking for piece B8. And as always, standard rules apply. If I assemble something in the wrong order or miss a part, take a shot. It is New Year's Eve after all. My tools today, I'm going to be using obviously the cheapo nippers. I've got my glass file, and we've got nicer Tamiya nippers that I'm going to use to clean up nub marks. And then I've got a needle here, and it's one of the things that I wanted to talk about as far as customizations go because I really want to start doing a couple of tutorials on just like real basic stuff. But yeah, so obviously you can see that the camera's shaking because I'm like banging the desk, but yeah, these parts are not going anywhere. So yeah, I want to do a series of like real basic tutorials, not necessarily things like panel lining, which I think is too basic, but like what I want to do is obviously like rescribing, which you know, if we were to take something like this, we've got some panel lines already in here, and one of the things that I like to do is just take a needle and rescribe over the existing panel lines to make them a little bit deeper, and then that way when you go in with your panel line accent color, you know, it fills in a little bit easier, and the ink flows through those channels a little bit cleaner. That's just one of those little tips, and you could use like a nice chisel to do it. You can also just use a sewing needle. They come in different widths and things as well. You don't need to like worry about the chisel size. Oh, hey, shout out Nintendo Gal. However, I did want to mention I made a mold of a Little People with Silanot and Elmer squishy stuff. Great for kids. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Um, yeah, non-toxic stuff, so I love it. I mean, uh, and I'm glad you did Little People because that's something that I've been wanting to do for my daughter as well, is, you know, make copies of some of her Little People, especially because you know me, one of my favorite things to do, of course, is to install electronics and things. So could you imagine if I like wired up some Little People with some wireless LEDs and like, you know, I set up her playset so that when she's playing with Sven and Kristoff on uh on Elsa's mountain with her Little People, like maybe if Kristoff's got like a little lantern, I think he actually has a carrot in his hand. Um, you know, it lights up. That'd be pretty cool, right? Like I was funnily enough, I was watching some Jobby videos the other day, and he said something where he was like, "Well, you know, toys don't necessarily need um they don't necessarily need electronics to make them cool." And I was like, "Yeah, they don't, but like it's cool when they do have electronics in them." So this is actually one of those ones where we're going to build it side by side. This is also another benefit of this mat, is that you can see these miserable little nubs. And I have, I'm not just throwing them on the floor. I hope you guys know I have the boxes over here and I'm depositing them into the trash box. What's going on, Megas? Good to see you in chat. Good to see all of you, honestly. Today is a fun day. It was a surprise to me that I actually had it off. I was actually anticipating going into, well, you know, anticipating going into, I was expecting to go into the office today for our usual manager meeting. And turns out that we have today off, which is a new thing. We got a new holiday, which is pretty cool. So I'm not going to complain about that. Um, my daughter, it does still have a little sort of half day at daycare. I'm going to pick her up a little earlier than normal because we are going to hang out and play this evening before New Year's. And then she gets a very big surprise because we have tickets to go see Sonic 3 early morning tomorrow. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, hey, shout out Mobius. With the new year, one of my resolutions is to build my own perfect grade unicorn. After building the full armor unicorn for Ka, I think I'm ready. Let's talk about New Year's resolutions. What are your guys' resolutions for the next year? Now, if you believe in birthday rules and you don't want to say them so that you don't spoil them, that's cool. But um Ultronimus, you gonna stay up till the ball drop? Probably not. Uh, I have not been I've not been young enough to watch the ball drop for a long time. I feel like there are various ages in life, right? Like there's an age when you stop believing in Santa. Not saying that Santa's not real. I'm saying that there's an age when you stop believing in him. Then there's an age when oh, what was the second one I was going to say? There's like an age when birthdays aren't as important to you anymore. Um, then of course like there's the age when, oh, what, Halloween, trick or treating. There's an age when you're too old to go trick or treating, right? I think that there's an age when you're too old to stay up for New Year's Eve. So let's see. We need a 26, 27. It's basically like this entire section of the runner. 26, 27. Oh yeah, and so of course I forgot to mention, between thank you to my sponsors, Ultronimus and Gundam Explained for this video, go check out their, if you haven't, go check out their channels down in the links below. Obviously, you guys know what Adam does over on Gundam Explained, covers everything Gundam, probably more Gundam stuff than even I'm familiar with, but Ultronimus is uh, sci-fi and Gundam gaming. So a lot of sweet stuff over there. A lot of like chill let's plays without any commentary. Although I like the challenge runs too. I mean, there's a little bit of something for everyone. So go check these guys out. I just remembered I was like, oh wait, I don't even know if I shouted out Adam for the map yet. So what's going on, Pyro? Good to see you. How did I miss the notifications for this? That's funny. Talos says, New Year's resolution, make better videos, build kits that have scared me up until now, and finish fixing the old house. Yeah, there you go. If you can live for 200 more years, that'd be awesome too. Ultronimus says, resolutions would be to stick to writing my novel, finish these challenge runs, and get a proper job. Oh, so I can ask a dude of interest out. Hey, I'm proud of you for having a dude of interest. Oh my gosh, you guys are doing it, aren't you? That's a TLC reference. Hey, Hample New Year. Happy New Year, Pyro. I hope you are already, well, I hope you and Talos are already, taking shots on my behalf. Taco says, my goals are to A, learn to airbrush and modifications, set up to film airbrushing, create a better live stream experience, get a sponsor, enjoy life, take more time building kits. Kids? Yes, build kids too. Shinzo Abe says that, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we all took a break from building Gundams and started building children? No, I kid. So this is like a crazy little build sequence because, and this is part of the whole, building on the inner frame thing, because obviously, there's already so much articulation in just this foot unit without even having built anything on it yet, that when you assemble parts on it, they have to be done in a very particular order, which, this is the joy of real grades, to be honest. Oh, another resolution besides not buying and building is to set up repair video so we could laugh at my crappy attempts at electronic repair. You and me both. That sounds like a great idea. I am anxious to see that because obviously I have still not repaired my Nintendo Switch, but I am in the process of doing a lot of cool gaming stuff. Shout out to my partners at Lola PC. Obviously, they're in the process of helping me with this, getting the Lola PC app running on various devices. which I think is just so cool. Like, especially for a guy like me that, um, you know, I've never had like a high-end gaming PC or anything like that. So, how does this go on here? Am I doing it the wrong way? I'm probably doing it the wrong way. No, no, that's correct. So this gets turned 180. This first goes up into part C13. So see, I didn't even cut out all of the parts that I need. I don't know how guys do that thing where they like cut out all of the parts, don't look at the instructions until it's time to assemble them, and then build the kit from there. I do not have a good enough memory of knowing like, oh yeah, that's where this part came from. Especially something like, I mean, well, that's pretty easily recognizable. But like, okay, let's look at part E2-4. That is a tiny little piece. Whoop, right there. That is a tiny little piece that has no distinctive markings. How are you even supposed to know if you have the right or the left one? Because obviously there's two of them because it's an E2. So there's an E2-4 and there's an E1-4. In theory, they should be the same part, but you never know. Let's see what we've got here. So that goes on there. Then this goes down on here. And I'll make the toe. Can you imagine if like Voltron or the Power Rangers had like if it was like a team of 20 of them? It's like, instead of I'll form the head, it's like I'll form the left nostril. Oh, sorry, let's see. Oh, hey, what's going on, Simple New Type? Good to see you in chat. Hope you're doing well, man. You and I need to catch up. Pyro says, I have a list of projects on the new year too. Going to swap out my desk, I think. L-shaped. Yes, L-shaped is the way to go. I enjoy my L-shaped desk. But yeah, we were just discussing our New Year's resolutions. So, Simply New Type, any New Year's resolutions you wish to share with us? I've been really enjoying the remastered versions of a lot of the videos. Like just giving a little new life to some older content. So I appreciate it. Maybe I need to scoop my chair a little bit closer here so that I'm actually over the desk. I love this little caution bar, like, hey, don't drop your parts, you idiot. Now we are going to need the other version of this, which I think is that one. I will ban anyone. Yeah, I was gonna say you do have a wrench, don't you, Pyro? Please do ban anyone that makes terrible New Year's Eve puns. But yes, make more free time for oneself. Isn't that the goal for all of us, right? Um, but yeah, I will be very excited if the folks at Lola can help me get my GBO2 running on a Fire Stick, because that is just going to be a fun little experiment. Obviously, we still have other experiments to do with Lola next year. We are going to be installing it on a Raspberry Pi, and of course, you know, by extension, using said Raspberry Pi to control Gunpla, which, is pretty cool. Unfortunately, I think GBO2 is so old that they don't. Um, how can I explain this in, I don't want to say layman's terms, but in a way that I understand them. So, certain games from Steam actually will broadcast variables, to your system uh, that you can then tap into with various software and say like, okay, if this game is running in this state, then you can, execute certain actions based on that. I think GBO2 is just so old that it doesn't have any of that. And so I'm going to have to rely on some screen recording software in order to get the features that I want out of it. Oh, Ultronimus says, any games besides GBO2 you're excited to finally have access to? Yes, actually, with Pyro in the chat here, I can finally say that we are going to be doing some Space Engineers streams, which is like something that he and I wanted to do 2 years ago. He even bought me a copy of Space Engineers. Oh, GBO2 seems like the Counter-Strike of the Gundam world. I've never played it, so I have no idea. I mean, I'd say that that's probably a fair comparison. It's definitely more complex than Counter Strike, I would say. So I am, like I said, I'm going to stream a little bit longer today than than normal. We'll go longer than an hour. We'll see how much of this Gundam I can get finished. Obviously, I am not making good pace right now. But yeah, let me know if you guys enjoy this view or if you want me to push the camera in a little bit. I did, like I said, I wanted to show off this scale of what we're looking at here. And I'm not even using its features to their full potential. Because what we can do, obviously, is we've got right foot, left foot. And then, yeah, because I don't have a keyboard here, I can actually use this to hold my runners. So yeah, we can stay nice and organized. And I think I actually assembled something in the wrong order because I was supposed to put this part on before the toe. But I don't think it matters because it still fits together just fine. And then we rotate this around and is it just, okay, yeah, it's just this part that comes over the top. It's such a cool way to assemble the foot like that. Oh, good catch. For a second there, I thought I was building a the crossbone Zaku. Those monkey armed. What is it called? The Barbatos, not Barbatos, but like Barbus. so this one's like putting up a little bit of a fight. That's because it's not aligned correctly there. Oh, well, let's see here. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. So now we've got a couple of feet. Oh, we got to bend the ball joint around. Yes, the patented Hatter confused dad stare. Yeah, that's what's happening when I'm like, okay, wait a second. How does this all work? Mm. And then like sometimes I'll become a mouth breather and do this like okay. Now we need A22 and A25 for both parts. So let's go ahead and grab those. That is our high heels. Ooh, listen to that ASMR. Oh, and of course, as you guys know, I will shill the Patreon just a little bit today. So tomorrow, the new Patreon rewards go live for supporters of the Model Maniac tier and up, which include the base jabber that can hold either a Raspberry Pi or an Orange Pi Zero. It doesn't matter like the size. So like for instance, if you have I have the 1 GB um version. It does support like the 4 GB version too. So that's cool. So the base jabber can hold that Raspberry Pi. Also included in tomorrow's perks. You know, I'm feeling generous because it's New Year's. No, I'm kidding. Actually, the reason I figured that not everybody would be interested in the Raspberry Pi compatibility. So I was like, well, let's do some, typical Orthodox stuff. And so I mentioned this on another stream previously, but there's also going to be what I consider some pretty cool parts. Eventually, I'll put them on Thingiverse for free, but you Patreon members get them early access, so to speak. Is basically sub arm kits. So if you're like me and you kind of have like I actually have a tackle box where I keep like all my spare Gunpla parts, and in one of the cabinets of the tackle box, I have nothing but spare polycap parts from kits that just don't use those polycaps. And so, uh, yeah, I figured having a way to use them would be nice, right? So I created like basically it's a little two-part shell that fits around standard high-grade sized polycaps, and you can make sub arms out of it. So that's pretty cool. And so I'm excited to share that with you guys. That's not all. But wait, there's more. I'm actually also going to include a saberfish, 1/144th scale saberfish, which this one is actually going to be printed in parts. I didn't realize until I started modeling the saberfish just how big it is in Gundam scale. A lot of these things, like when you see them either in the anime, well, obviously the anime proportions are going to be kind of silly, but when you see them in video games, the scale is a little goofy. I think that the best example of like correct scale would be in 8th MS Team when the Goof flight type cuts that shuttle in half. Well, the shuttle. It's not a shuttle, it's the core booster, the jet core booster, and he cuts it in half with the heat sword. That is actual size. Like, you know, if you had a 1/144th scale model kit like this, the core booster is like this freaking big. And so it's the same with the saberfish. The saberfish is like this big in 1/44th scale. Um which is huge. So I did split the model into parts that can be glued together. They're not snap fit, and the reason I didn't do them snap fit this time is because, I've been printing on that resin 3D printer, and I have yet to find a resin that is not just super brittle. I mean, obviously you could print them on an FDM printer, and they'd probably be a little bit sturdier. You could snap them together and not have a problem. But man, the resin parts that I print, the detail on them is fantastic, but they are just so brittle. So that's my New Year's resolution is, in addition to creating all these new technical videos and, things around the Lola PC app and building all of these complex lighting setups, I do want to get an FDM printer and start printing that way so that things are a little sturdier. So yeah, that said, tomorrow we are gonna have a saberfish 1/144th scale. It's printed in 6 parts. So the way that it's formatted is you have the body, and then there's the nose cone, and those parts they have like notches to help you guide them together to fit, and you would just apply glue on the inside of the notch and it will seal them together. So you've got the body, the nose cone, there's a canopy because I did model a pilot inside the cockpit, which is pretty cool. So this is, if you're on a resin printer, this is cool because then you can 3D print the canopy in clear resin as opposed to the rest of it you would do in opaque resin, and then that way the canopy has like a clear, pretty cool idea. Then you also have the thrusters, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and then there's wings, like the little fin wings on the side. So all of them, like I said, they do have guiding posts to help you get them into the right place, but the model does need to be glued. Um, but of course, if you're a mad lad, you can just take the STLs, assemble them in Blender, and just go to town. Um, and just print it as one piece. Especially if you wanted to do like a smaller scale version. Like if you wanted to scale it down and make it like 1/400th scale, I would probably just assemble the parts and do it that way. So you'll get the saberfish, you'll get the base jabber, which is similar to a base jabber that I've released in the past. This one just happens to have the empty cavity where you can fit the Raspberry Pi, and then of course the sub arm kit, which again is something I'm surprised was not already on Thingiverse, because there are like polycaps and like Gunpla detail parts that are on Thingiverse. I'm actually really ashamed of the 3D print parts that people will put up. There's some really great designers and builders out there, but there are a lot of, you know, unscrupulous folks that will literally take game assets, make zero changes to them, and then try to sell them. And I just don't think that that's cool. I'll be honest, I use a lot of game assets for my 3D prints, but they go through heavy amounts of editing. Like by the time I'm done with them, it's actually kind of embarrassing. If I were a better modeler, I probably could have just modeled the part myself. But yeah, all of the video game assets that I make available for 3D printing have been heavily edited so that they are actually good. You don't have weird polygon artifacts and things that should have been textures. Because that's what a lot of people don't realize is that, video game assets, especially, double A or low budget ones, things like Gundam assets, typically are not modeled with a lot of detail. The textures do a lot of the heavy lifting, and so then when you go to print them, they come out and it's just like this blocky mass of humanoid scrap, and you're like, well, that doesn't really look like a Zeta Gundam. um, Nintendo Gal says just splurge for a bamboo. Man, so actually I did find there's some good deals on the Cobra 3 from I think it's Anycubic, and that is one that I was looking at intently because it's under $400 and it has the ability to print in multicolor, which is pretty appealing to me. I gotta be honest with you. Um, so yeah, something like that. But yeah, man, I wish I could get a bamboo, particularly one of the ones that prints in multicolor, because my dream is to make kit cards. I did make a um, I did make a fan kit card earlier this year, and it was okay, but it wasn't great. Especially, I would like to be able to make them multicolor. Like if I were to make a kit card. So the fan kit card was about this size, right? But I would want to be able to print it in multiple colors like this so that then we can have like here are the propellers and then here's you know, this would be the body and then we have like the parts that go into the thrusters. So things like that, things like the hover trucks, Type 61 tanks, Magella tanks, DOPS, things like that that obviously there are not a great source of 1 to 1/44th scale vehicles. I want to make kit cards of those and have them easily printable with very little cleanup to do. Obviously, that's one of the other issues with resin printing is that, you know, you're going to be dealing with a ton of supports, um, which means a lot of cleanup. Again, everything is a trade-off. Talos says, have you ever tried aluminum-filled epoxy resin? I have not, but that sounds pretty cool. Honestly, one of the things that I would like to do, and this is inspired by the Craftsman, Steady Crafting with the Craftsman. Check him out on YouTube. He's fantastic. He's gotten into a lot of less crafty stuff. He's been doing a lot more like technological tutorials, like music production, things like that. Because he's very similar to me in a lot of ways in that he's just like a general hobbyist. Like he likes to do a lot of different things. And so some videos you're going to vibe with, other videos you're like this isn't relevant to me. Like, oh, like are you interested in stop motion animation? Maybe, maybe not. But I think that that's what's cool about him is that he's authentic like that. So, anyway, he had a video in which he took ferrite powder, like ferrous material, like it's basically iron filings, and he mixed it with epoxy resin and created like these really awesome looking sculptures because he would use a magnet to hold the resin in different shapes, and then like as the resin cured, obviously the ferrous powder was frozen in the space that it was in. What I want to do is take some of that ferrous powder, some of that iron powder, mix it into epoxy resin, make cast parts of different like Gunpla parts, and then like cast Gunpla parts in metal. Like essentially, it would be a resin part that has metal particles in it, meaning that it becomes magnetic. Then we can start doing fun things with like hard points and oh man, like can you imagine like my full armor double Zeta Gundam where the armor has the neodymium magnets installed in it? Then you'd be able to like just snap it on to the part. Like there is a lot of fun stuff that you can do with that for sure. And I will do it all. Um, I brought a Project Elegoo Max 3 for just under 200. The seller sells you the seller sells you two, you bash together to make one. What? That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pester you for a link for that. My current 3D printing workhorse is the Elegoo Mars 2, which works pretty well. I mean, I it at this point it's like mostly not even stock. I use aluminum vats with like fresh FEP sheets, and I installed a new screen that takes it from a 2K screen to a 4K screen, so I'm getting a lot better resolution on it. What else did I replace on it? I think that's it. It just feels like I replaced a lot of stuff on it. All right, so which direction does this go? This way. This is a beautiful touch, having the ankle skirt have like something that caps over the front so that you don't have an ugly split in it. Very, very great. Talos says maybe add a magnet inside the model and using it as a hard point. Yeah, exactly. And so that's another thing that you can do with FDM printers that you can't do with a resin printer is in mid model do like middle in the middle of a print do stuff. That's cool. So like there's a project online that I saw that is a magnetic pod, and it's basically like it's like a little magnetic, well, it's like a plastic case about this size in diameter, maybe about that thick. And so it has like a case that you can open and put stuff inside. And then it's got magnets oriented on the bottom so that then you can like stick it on the side of a fridge or something if you wanted to like hold your keys or something. But one of the issues that they were having was obviously like strength and being able to hold a lot of weight inside the case. And so when they were printing it, what they do is they print the base, then they pause the printer, put the magnets in, and then print on top of it, and it seals the magnets inside, which is something you couldn't do with like traditional manufacturing techniques. Like you couldn't injection mold something. I say that literally as I have an example of something that they did this with. So this is a perfect example of something that's exactly what I'm saying you can't do except with 3D printing. So, for instance, these parts, what they end up doing is they have two different molds. They have a mold of the outer shell and then like a mold of the inner shell. They cast the inner part, put it inside, and then like basically injection mold on top of the existing plastic. So it's one of those things that you can do with an FDM printer that you can't do with a resin printer, because if I were to pause the resin printer halfway through and try to put things inside of it, they would just fall out because the resin printer goes up instead of the resin printers print upside down, whereas FDM printers print right side up. So, gravity and all that. All right, so let's start on the right leg here. This is B2. There are so many sprues to cut on this. That's why I like using the rough and ready. I like using these to cut the parts from the sprues and then using that to clean them up afterwards. Because this is just industrial FU nippers. So that goes with the left leg. This is the right leg. You could also use the magnet to activate the lights of model kits. Like, oh, yeah, so I actually have a couple of videos showing off just that. There's a Zaku. Well, it's not on my shelf anymore because I've had to, downsize. But I made a Zaku that the mono eye lights up when you put it on a particular base. But that's also another thing that I'm working on is expanding the technology behind those behind the induction LEDs. But yes, like an RFID chip, that's something that would be cool to install. And I might start tinkering with that, especially with, like, for instance, my daughter has one of those Tony boxes. One of the most frustrating things about the Tony box is that all of the licensed Tonys don't have the original music or voice actors to them. Um, so like, you buy the Woody and Buzz Toy Story um, guy, and when you put it on, it's not Randy Newman singing "You Got a Friend in Me." It's like some random "You Got a Friend in Me." No, it's like I need my "You Got a Friend in Me." You just remember what your old past said, boy. You got a friend in me. So yes, 3D printing and installing Tonys into installing some Tony, like some custom Tony recordings. They actually sell blanks, like Tony blanks, which is cool. Yep, this is the right one. Am I doing this right? Um, nope. So this goes this way. We bend this down. That will help me remember that this is the right leg. These are the parts of the real grade builds that give me super anxiety. I also kind of wish that I hadn't packed up my metallic Sharpies because it would be cool to add in some of those little details here. Before I snap this whole thing together. Do I have any of my metallic Sharpies, Andy? I surely do not. I think I've got a Gundam marker. I don't think that that would look good on the interior, though. We'd want something metallic. Well, that is metallic. You know what I mean. And I'm also using the wrong sheet here. Fortunately, I don't think it necessarily matters in this particular case because, I mean, these are essentially the same. And just catching up, I ripped out the stuff in the Portal of Power and put an induction coil to make a makeshift base for things. That's awesome. See, and that's one of the things, like, especially with an FDM printer, I'd love to make some custom action bases. I am, in fact, working on a custom action base for, I'm not going to say who, because it's a secret. You may or may not know them and or follow their content, but I am making a custom action base for someone. And one of the things that I'd like to do with that one would be to install an induction ring, like, embedded into the action base so that when they have their Gunpla on it, they can light up their model kits. And so that's going to be part of the thing. Like, if we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions, one of mine is to actually start my Gunpla accessory shop online where you can buy some of these things not totally turnkey, but like basically put together enough that you could figure it out. I basically want to make it so that you can assemble these things without a soldering iron. You can, so like you would buy the action base and it's already got the induction ring in it. All you got to do is plug it into a USB outlet. That part's easy. And then there would be a set of maybe 5 induction LEDs that maybe you could pick the color, and they would be installed. They would come pre-installed on like longer leads, so that then you can uh, so that you could install the receiver in the foot and then have like the light higher in the model. This is so frustrating. Probably gonna. Oh man, I'm so sorry, Nintendo Gal. I appreciate you popping in, even with power flickering in and out. I hope that that does not impact, you know, the kiddo. I know that it is stressful as heck when I have to try and put my daughter down and we don't have her sound machine. So do take care. And RFID cards are fun to mess with. Just make sure you get a decent one that has a good Arduino library. Okay. I mean, I'm definitely going to give it a shot. Obviously, I've become much more of a tinkerer lately. Sound machine is the stuff of naps. Yeah, I made the mistake of showing up to my daughter's daycare once when they were in the middle of nap time, and so they shut that whole place down. Like the entire building goes dark. Um, but they have sound machines in the hallway, and then they have sound machines in the individual rooms where all the kiddos are. They had like 3 different sound machines, and then they also had like that were just white noise, but then they also had one that was like blasting that Chainsmokers song with Daya, but it was like in a lullaby format. I was like, what is this? Whatever happened to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? Um, for Gunpla kits, I need to find good contact conductors so that I won't have to worry too much about cables going through joints. Instead, use contact electricity. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like, what would be the best way to, what would be the best way to implement that? Like, obviously, I think it would be easy to do with like a plug, like a stereotypical, just like headphone jack, because then you can have your 2 contact points. But like on a ball joint, how do you, maybe if it were like a butterfly joint where like the center of it is the anode and then the outside is the cathode, and so then they're not in contact with one another, but they do make contact with the internals. Um, Nintendo Gal, I really need to get on the Discord. Going to put $5 in. Uh, my Discord's free. You don't have to. There's a supporters channel in the Discord. Um, but you can hop on the Discord for free. That's not a yeah. Please join the Discord if you haven't. And when you do, share me the link um to that Elegoo 2 pack. Um, yeah, I feel like that. Oh, what am I missing here? Oh, cool, cool. Just getting more pings. So then we need C1. Yeah, yeah. I know some people do only paid Discords, but because the Discord was originally the only way to get in touch with me if there were issues with the Gundam 5e, I didn't want to make that a paid only thing. So there's a obviously there's a private chat that I'm more active in, and Ultronimus can tell you about that. You know, being a patron, um, that's where I put like all the sneak peeks to the projects that I'm working on and sort of behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, everybody else kind of just chats in main. Oop. One moment, cats are screaming for attention. Yeah, I agree with that, Ultronimus. It kind of reminds me of there's like that big thing going on right now, like with school.com, where, you know, they have all these like paid communities where you basically pay for access to other people that are paying for access to nothing. It's like the grown-up version of a fraternity. It's like you're just paying to have friends. There's no like I don't know. There's not the same level of connection that I think we have. And then of course, like obviously Ultronimus can tell you that we do, you know, only patrons can submit for the monthly creator spotlights. Um I haven't done a supporter stream in a while. I'm overdue for one of those. But we do supporter streams, things like that. And then, of course, yeah, the eventual discount on the shop once those go. But yeah, the other thing that I was having trouble with is like, so obviously I can control. This is going to be my next mission, something to figure out, and I know that the answer is probably no, it doesn't work. Is so I can control NeoPixels from an Arduino or from a Raspberry Pi, and I can control LEDs wirelessly through induction rings. The question is, if I hook up an induction ring to an Arduino, obviously I can turn lights on and off, but is there any way to send a signal to the NeoPixel to indicate what color I want it to shine? Because if I can make wireless color change LEDs, I think that that would change the landscape of Gunpla forever. Yeah. Yep. You are right. You do need that third cable just for the addressable aspect of it. Now, I think that there might be a way around it. You wouldn't be able to do it with NeoPixels because they, like you said, they are addressable. You need that data line. But if you had three intermingled um, induction rings wired up to three different GPIO pins on your board, and you were using, instead of like an addressable LED, you were using one of like the old school type LEDs that you could like harvest from, you know, these types of lights. You would be able to, instead of addressing it via a data line, you would just send, let me see if I can illustrate this in a do I have a way of illustrating this? So if you had your induction rings in like a concentric circle, and you have like red, green, and then the outer ring is blue. And then depending on what you wanted to do with your Arduino, you send power to just the blue ring or just the green ring, or you send it to blue and green. Then you can light up different parts of the LED. I don't know. I'm thinking here. There's something here. It would involve having like two different it would involve having like three different individual receivers, but then one LED that you push it to. Um Wow, now that I'm thinking about this, like I really want to diagram it out. The RGB APA 104 1010 LEDs. Yeah, those little guys. I have 1515s, I think. They are very difficult to work with, but there is a secret. It's called hot air rework stations. um, so we need 34. Yeah, I use a hot air rework station now when it comes to soldering all these tiny parts because yeah, you can't do it with a soldering iron. At least not in my experience. I made it very messy. I ended up bridging connections all the time. In one instance, I actually ended up ripping the pad off of the LED and so ruining the LED. Oh, I didn't know it came with a little Athranzala. But other than that, yes, you are absolutely correct. Like those, that is the way to go. But yeah, now I'm obsessed with making yeah, now you can put Atherin with your Glemmy and Sieve Camille's. Yeah, exactly. That's not true. I have a Sayla and an Amuro as well. I actually also have a oh, wait a second. The real grade Mark or the real grade Gundam 2.0 doesn't come with an Amuro pilot. I just realized. At least not that I remember when I was building it. I will be so sad if they do away with the 1/144th scale pilots. Oh, come on, get on there. Am I doing this wrong? I think I cut out the wrong one. Did I? I mean, either way, it should fit. Get on there. Am I just putting it up too high? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It goes down there. There you go. So then this is where it gets like nerve-wracking is like the first time you start to bend these joints is like I mean it's so cool the way that they're so intricate like that, but just the first time you move them they're very stiff. There's an Amuro just chilling with the plastic chippings. Yeah, he's probably like, kill me. Kill me now. The other thing that I have to point out about this kit is it is surprisingly simple. Um, in total, it's what, less than 10 runners, I think? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Yeah, nine total runners. The only two that I don't have up here on the desk are the backpack runners, um, and of course the beam saber. But yeah, I don't have that overwhelming sense of dread that I have with some uh, modern high grades where I'm like, oh my god, I need B3, and then I'm like digging through a sea of runners. Or like Kotobukiya kits where, you know, some of the runners on Kotobukiya kits have they have katakana as the identifier instead of a letter number combo. So then you're like, well, is this an H or is this a character that I can't read? Wow, really? It doesn't go any further than that? we need D1 7. There we go. See, I crossed the caution line. It's a bad move. Um, I saw a real grade high new Gundam for clearance at Video Game Heaven Place, but didn't pick it up. That was 34 bucks. That's not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, these days it's kind of sad and funny that like you can get a real grade Zeta Gundam for about the same price as like the Zeta Revive. E114. So yeah, that makes me a little sad sometimes. I don't think that the real grade Gundam's that bad, especially now. One of the things, so there's a video that I had an idea for, and I started it. I didn't record anything, but I started, brainstorming about it. Nobody has made a review of the HCM Pro 1/200 scale Zeta Gundam, which, in my opinion, is um, one of the cooler HCM Pro model kits. Obviously, it's already built for you. You don't do the build yourself, but it does feature an almost anime accurate transformation sequence, and it has more accessories than even the Master Grade Verka Zeta Gundam, which is kind of cool. Um, C1. So I was working on a review to that the other day, but then I realized I am missing like half of the parts. Not half of them. I'm missing two pretty important parts. One of them is I only have one of the tips that comes with it for the Hyper Mega Launcher. It comes with a beam effect part version as well as a standard like gun barrel version. I'm sure that I thought that the gun barrel version was just um, it was just another beam saber handle, and I put it in one of my tackle boxes in the wrong place, categorized incorrectly. Hey, what's going on, Dan? Good to see you in chat. I hope you are doing well and having an excellent New Year's Eve so far. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, that's correct. Oh my goodness. I feel like I am going to have to either cement this in place or something because this thigh armor slips off for like no reason. But so far the leg is, I mean, that's a good looking leg. I'm going to make that into a lamp. Fragile. C1 7 and 6. Ultronimus, you're just old like me. If you get that reference. And then D1 5 and 6. One of the cool things about the Justice, I think, is the white parts of it. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of the Epion in its color scheme. We're timeless or vintage. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So let's see. We've been going for a little over an hour now, and I have not even finished a single leg. How embarrassing is that? I have a feeling that we are probably gonna not finish this today, but perhaps we will continue it and finish it up, later this week. That very cool. Indeed. I am glad that I got to put out this sponsored stream before the end of the year because I was like, this kit was sitting on my shelf just aching to be built. Ooh, and I don't get a lot of opportunity to build real grades, I'm going to be honest with you. So I appreciate you supplying the kit. Again, if you guys have not gone over and checked out Ultronimus on YouTube, definitely my favorite source of no commentary playthroughs. I get the feeling that I did something wrong here. You know why? Because I did. That is not supposed to be ankle armor. That is shin armor. No pun intended. Alright, so for those of you playing the game, that is a shot. Drink them if you got them. I was like, that does look really funny that it has this weird just ankle armor sticking out here. Turns out it's not ankle armor. And there we go. That's a pretty sexy little part right there. And now we get to do the whole thing again. Now let's see if I can do the whole thing from memory. That would be impressive. Oh, Nintendo gal, don't I know it. See, and then of course, I'm a dummy because I went and did it again. I'm going to be in the newborn phase with a toddler. Like, it reminds me of that, it reminds me of that, oh, who's the comedian? His name was on the tip of my tongue. See, this is dad brain kicking in. It's like, ooh, who's that guy in that show with the Shane Gillis? There's that Shane Gillis meme where he was, on that podcast and he's like, why are we doing this? This sucks. Like, I say that to my wife all the time, with the new one on the way. It's like, man, you mean we're gonna have twice as many diapers? And instead of just one of us putting the kid down for sleep, we've got both of us are gonna have to put down. Each of us are gonna have a different kid to put to sleep. It's worth it. It's fun. And like I said, there are so many things that I mean, obviously, I love my daughter because she's hilarious. She has just the most perfect comedic timing, um, and she doesn't even realize it yet, which is so funny. So this goes here, and even outside of just the joys of being a parent, which, obviously there are numerous, I also just, I think I've said before how much I enjoy how she's gotten me out of my comfort zone with a lot of my hobby stuff. Things that I would have never done before that these are the things that like I'm famous for now is like all of the silly electronics experiments and things that I do. Um, I would have never started doing any of that because I would have still been doing super basic stuff. So this is where it stinks because I started mixing things up over here. I was like, oh yeah, E1, E2, technically they're the same part, so I did pull out a bunch of like the same parts like an idiot. Oh, give me just a second. Gotta let the dog out here. Don't go outside, Cinderella. Here you go, baby. All right. Where was I here? All right, so we just installed those parts. Let's do these guys next. Okay, so I'm not doing it 100% from memory. I'm looking at the same instructions that I did for the right leg and just kind of mirroring it for the left. Where in the world does this fit on? I know it does. I know you fit on here. Don't lie to me. There we go. Beautiful little part there. And then we need 17. Wait a second. So this is where it gets tricky, is there's actually an E118 that we're going to use here. So yeah, I really do. I apologize for not having as much content out this year. One of my resolutions for last year going into this year was to, produce more stuff. And I think that, with everything going on, made things difficult. I'm not going to make excuses. I think I just fell short and got distracted on a lot of different things. And so I do want to visit the new year with some renewed focus on the things that I think are important. I don't want to lose sight of where we're going because as far as I'm concerned, I think that I've kind of found a niche that suits me, makes me happy. Whoop. Look at that. We crossed the boundary line. Mission failed. Um, I'm enjoying doing Gunpla content more than I was enjoying doing like tabletop stuff, and not producing anything for Gundam 5e or any of that kind of stuff has given me a lot more free time to explore these types of projects. One of the things that is going to be my resolution going forward, however, is to focus on one project at a time so that I can finish them in timely manners instead of constantly bouncing back and forth between different projects. And I think that that's going to benefit everyone in the long run because it means more full length videos for you guys, more stuff for me to do, or at least it's going to give me, more, what you call it, more fulfillment because I'll be actually finishing things. And maybe being a little bit less ambitious. One of the things that I've noticed, and this was when I was working, the last time that I was working on the VA8, was I was like, man, this started as just a project to install some color change LEDs in some old wing kits. And then it became, well, I guess I might as well, upgrade their posability and stuff. And it's like, wait a second, no, that's not a that's not what I do here. You guys know that. Is like I'm not a particularly good scratch builder, like making joints and things like that. I I can kit bash fairly well. So like, if there were existing joints that I could use, maybe I'd do that. But in the future, I am not going to try and do what I was doing with the let's see if I feel like I was going in and out of the camera there. I'm definitely not going to do this level of customization again, that's for sure. There was a trick that I mentioned. I don't know if I mention this. I saw a Japanese YouTuber who did something really cool with the old like 90s version of the 1/100th scale high grade Zeta Gundam, which I mean, it transforms like it's a very awesome kit. But obviously it shows its age a little bit. It doesn't have as great articulation. Well, what he did in order to enhance the articulation and to make the transformation process smoother is he actually took a G-frame model kit and cut various joints um, for each other. That's hilarious. He cut various joints to like assemble them and like enhance the because it was like the old kit only had peg joints and he would borrow butterfly joints from the G frame. Kyle says that he was streaming both Shirt Lad and I at the same time, and it seemed like we were talking to one another. Honestly, we should be talking to one another. And we do have a new type connection. Um, Except in real life, we don't call it being a new type. We call it the tism. My goodness. See, now this time I'm not going to screw up the ankle armor, shin armor. Oh, yeah, there you go. No wonder Camille is your favorite pilot. Exactly. I think if we're all being honest, we're all a little bit more Camille than we'd like to admit. How long are you streaming today? I'll probably stream for about 2 hours. Let's see, that would put us like for like another 30 minutes or so. I'll tell you what, instead of putting a hard cap on it, I will stream until we get the legs and like groin built so that at least we have like enough Gundam to say that we have a Gundam and not not less than that. So it'll probably take us closer to 2. But then yeah, I am gonna want to run out of here and I am gonna run out of here, pick up my daughter, get stuff for dinner, um, all that good stuff. Get ready for New Year's tonight. Oh gosh. Task is clear. Distract. Deflect, distract, disturb. So this is one of those instances. I'm going to sip my energy drink here. No, I'm not sponsored by G Fuel. It's not even G Fuel actually. So this is one of those things like I don't know if you can see that nub mark is pretty intense right there. And it's not something I can cleanly get off with the glass file because it's not really like a flat surface. So this is one of those instances where I'll rely on a little bit of cement. And essentially all we're doing is just melting the plastic a little bit to re-get it in its like static form. So it's still going to need some time to dry and all that stuff, but basically once it's like that, I can go back and hit it with my, is this 2000 or 1200? 1200 grit sandpaper. And that'll remove the nub mark entirely. Now we got to grab these parts. And I feel bad because it's like we spent, what, hours this morning bad talking seed in the Discord. And here I am building a seed kit. I feel like this is my penance though. This is me apologizing to Ultronimus for contributing to the seed slander. I'd be careful keeping a drink near the computer with a toddler in the house. He had a close call. Oh man. Fortunately, my daughter's not home right now. She will be home shortly because I'm going to go get her. And Dan, I don't think you were here earlier when I said our plans for tomorrow, taking my daughter to her first in the theater movie, first big girl movie. It's actually going to be the first time that I've been to a movie theater since she was born. The last movie that I saw in theaters, get this, The Joker. And we've already seen a Joker 2 come out and obviously, didn't do so hot. But isn't that crazy? The last time I was in a theater was for the Joker. So yeah, tomorrow, taking my daughter to see Sonic 3. According to Fandango, we are actually going to be the only ones in the theater, which I kind of hope is the case, which, I mean, that'd be kind of awesome. Um, Nintendo Gal, put a playpen fence around your computer area. I actually did have that up until last week when we started taking things down to have the floors redone. I had like, baby gates around my desk. Um, I just realized that could be taken another way. I'm ready to sleep well before midnight because I'm old. That is hilarious. Yeah, that's definitely not my plan for New Year's. Maybe when we were younger, but that is not on my agenda. Nah, I think we'll probably stay up until the ball drops and then promptly fall asleep after. Last time I went to a theater was for The Last Jedi. I haven't been back since. Wow. Dude, that's crazy is there's a lot of people who stopped watching Star Wars because of The Last Jedi. You straight up stopped watching movies in general. That's how bad The Last Jedi was. It's Oh man. Can you imagine swearing off movies just because of The Last Jedi? I don't say just because. Last Jedi was pretty awful. Um yes, Crimson Gamer. You should go see the Sonic 3 movie. Yeah, absolutely. Let's make it a New Year's Day thing. We'll all go see Sonic 3 tomorrow, even if you've already seen it. Oh, and Ultronimus, you know that I don't care about spoilers. I'm too old to worry about spoilers. Nintendo Gal, are the Sonic movies decent enough to watch? Yes. Yeah, they were all good, honestly. I think with each progressive movie, they've gotten closer and closer to just being the video game. The first one, obviously, they tried to have like kind of a human story tie in. Um, but like with the second movie, it was like, okay, let's dig a little deeper into the actual Sonic lore. And now with the third one, as I understand it, they do the same thing. They get even closer and closer to what actually happens in the video games, which is cool. Also, can we talk about how earlier we were all over on Adam Blue's Blue Gamer stream, and now I've got a Crimson Gamer in chat? I think we need to have like a little competition between you two, Blue Gamer versus Crimson Gamer. Um, yep. Ultronima says Sonic 3 was pretty close to Sonic Adventure 2. Pretty much. I mean, it's like they had to make some concessions to make it fit with the stuff that happened in Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, but or I'm speculating obviously because I haven't seen it yet, but there we go. That looks like a leg to me. Very nice. I'm going to try and position this just right so that, you know, Maybe Adam will come and screenshot some of the scenes from this stream and be like, look, this is how it looks when you use this correctly. Waste unit time. Let's get wasted. And by that, I mean installing a waste on this model kit. You speculated right. As a version of Sonic Adventure 2 for this universe, I was not displeased. It very well could be. But I think he's the fake gamer here. He is comparing himself to me. Yeah, exactly. I'm asking the questions here. Who are you? And why do you look like me? Plus, let's face it, the fact that there is actually a gun in Sonic 3, you know, with Shadow having his trademark handgun, it's pretty awesome. So now this is where these get confusing for me, right? Is when you get into like, what do we have to do here? All right. So these parts get rotated 90 degrees. Oh. As much as people don't like the Shadow the Hedgehog game, it is strangely iconic. I agree. I think that all of the Sonic games of that period though, they kind of were all lacking identity. They just didn't have anything that really made them stand out. Um, and every other Nintendo property was getting very experimental because that was around the same time as like Mario Sunshine and like Luigi's Mansion um, and Skyward Sword, right? I guess this side goes to the front and that goes to the back. So we need C120. Yeah, Nintendo was getting very adventurous in that period of Wii games or GameCube Wii. But yeah, for Sonic, I don't know what it was, like the post Sonic Adventure era that like I've seen some people do like, you know, hours long retrospectives talking about it and I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not going to watch that because I'm just not that committed to Sonic lore. But uh no, I think that like post Sonic Adventure there were some like gameplay differences that kind of affected things. Obviously, like I know that the slide mechanics are a huge topic of debate. Um, you know, the difference between whether it was like physics driven where you would have like if you didn't hit grind rails with the right momentum, you wouldn't grind. Whereas some of the newer ones, they just like auto grind for you. Um, oh, let's see. Okay. I think that the biggest failing of Sonic is that he's just very okay consistently. Like there are a lot of there are very few super bad things. Um, just a lot of mid. Yeah, but like, how is it that they've never had like a huge miss with Mario? It's crazy to me. Um, I was there at E3 for the Wii days. Man, you're aging us all. It was hilarious. At least 2006. PS3 versus Wii had me laughing. Empty Sony booth versus packed long lines for Nintendo booth. Yeah, what happened? What happened? Mario doesn't change. They got their three formulas, and all it does is a reskin. Yeah, pretty much. It's like, because once they nailed down the Mario 3D format, then they didn't really need to change anything. I don't think that they have really perfected the Sonic 3D format because 3D Sonic, even Sonic Adventure, as much as I like it, it it doesn't feel like Sonic. Like the idea of Sonic in 2D is going really fast, avoiding the pitfalls. It's kind of easy to dodge certain things in 3D. Um, so I don't think that they've 100% nailed the 3D Sonic mechanics yet. And yeah, that goes to what you're saying, Ultronimus, about Sonic being way more experimental. At the time, okay, let's see. At the time, you'll recall there was a giant buzz about how the Wii remote and the PS3 was just going for graphics. Oh, just a second, gang. I am getting a call that I've got to take. And we are back. Let's see. I missed some good chats here. Yeah, people still seem to want those 2D versions, kind of like Metroid to some degree, I guess. Yep, yep, absolutely. Ultronimus says, I think that's because 2D is simpler, while 3D is nice, and we get to highlight more of the homey characters. Not everyone liked those different gameplay styles. Yeah, because that's the thing is, with Mario, it wasn't about speed; it was about the platforming. There wasn't a lot of I mean, there's a little bit of platforming in Sonic, but it really wasn't. It was just run to the next checkpoint, right? Um, but yeah, I actually, while I was on the phone, I took the opportunity to grab this, which this is another one of these little projects that I'm experimenting with, right? So this is one of my standard induction, coils, right? It's got a pretty decent diameter on it, but it is only 4 coils of copper wire. Okay. So it's got a pretty medium range to it. I think total it was like about 6 inches uh, of distance that you can get from the little receiver. But this I harvested from a battery pack for a cell phone. I think I probably showed this on stream before. And it is an induction coil charger, and I am planning on replacing this large ring with this dense charger and seeing if we can get more distance with a smaller, footprint. Because if you look at the number of coils here, oh my goodness, we are talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God. Can I even count these? This is like insanely small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16 coils on this induction ring compared to the 4 on this. So even though it's a tighter packed package, I'm thinking that if I desolder this from my PCB here and replace it with this, can we achieve something that fits in an action base? Or even like, what if we were to cram it inside of one of these buildings? That would be kind of cool too. Um, or inside of a base jabber, or inside of any, like, I mean, this is a little bit more difficult to work with as a form factor than this is. So if we had uh, some really tight coils like this, can we push more lights? Only one way to find out. And yes, yes, Pyro, we all know what goes on a base jabber. I'm pretty sure that I did have the 8 guys on a base jabber Patreon perk. That STL. I even did the manga accurate 8 guys on a base jabber. Whoops. I did this wrong because you have to assemble it on the thingy here. So we thread that on there. And then clip this on the front. And that gives us one of our little skirt pieces. I'm surprised that there's not more detail packed into the reverse side of the skirt here. So yeah, where were we? Talking about Sonic, talking about LEDs. Oh yeah, now that I have these, I can actually illustrate what my concept was, right? So like, let's say we have these two rings. They're both connected to our board, like our ESP32, which would be the board that I prefer to use. One of them is connected to like GPIO pin 2, one of them is connected to pin 3, and we're putting 5 volts through each. We actually probably would need a voltage multiplier because I think it only outputs 3.3 volts. But this controls our red, this controls our blue. If we push voltage to both of them, then we can power an LED to purple. If we do just the inner one, we can make it red. If we just do the outer one, we make it blue. But that's the concept that I have in mind for doing wireless color change LEDs. Oh, hey, shout out to Nintendo Gal. Welcome to the Discord. I will properly welcome you later once I get back on there. I am not currently logged in, but yes, please stay on top of me and nag me about LEDs. So let's see. You've done Zelda minis before. How have you never done a Sonic one? And don't say because you do Gundam stuff. Yeah, I don't have an excuse there. Well, I've never done a Mario mini either, so uh-huh. Checkmate. Now, I'm definitely not as big into Sonic as some people. I like Sonic, but definitely not as much my cup of tea. I think after Sonic Adventure 2, I kind of fell off. I didn't play any of the newer Sonics. This is just silly the way that this fits in. This definitely needs to be glued. There's no way this is gonna stay in. Or is it? The Mad Lads actually did it. They designed, well, I spoke too soon. It does fit pretty tightly in there, pretty snug, but I think that still needs just a little, just a little dab of super glue in there to hold it in place. Yeah, I mean, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, like the way that each character had their own game modes and stuff. I loved playing as Knuckles. But then let's be honest, Knuckles was always my favorite. I loved playing as Knuckles, even just Sonic and Knuckles. Like I don't think I even played the Sonic storyline. I only played Knuckles. And then we didn't have Sonic 3 growing up. We only had Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic 2, so I did the Sonic 2 and Knuckles add-on. Knuckles was the only reason I beat Sonic 2. Yeah, exactly. Made it so much easier when you can just fly around and punch things. You can climb to the top of levels. Um, did I miss a part here? What am I doing here? Oh yeah, C124. Oh gosh. This is my nightmare. Yeah, exactly. Chemical Plant was a breeze when you could climb the walls. I didn't play I didn't play a ton of Spinball, but I did play Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. And in fact, that's one of my favorite games to play with my wife. Is we will just sometimes throw on the Sega emulator and play some Mean Bean Machine with each other. I'm not going to dignify that with a response. Let's see. Okay, so this guy goes on. Okay, so these guys like tilt up. And then what else do I need? A39. This is such a weird build. Yeah, I did kind of set you up for that one. But that's what we need more of, honestly, is more couch co-op or couch competitive games. Just couch games, you know? I talked to Adam about this. Is like, you know, online multiplayer is I think it's a false promise of interconnectivity with people because the truth is even though you can play with anyone, all of a sudden you feel more lonely than ever, you know? It's not the same as a little couch co-op or couch competitive. The void cam below. Well, technically, that was supposed to say sponsored by Ultronimus and Gundam Explained, but it did not fit in the box. So I was like, well, maybe I can put the chat there, but I didn't have my chat pop up ready. So you just have to deal with void cam. That's the Holy Spirit. I mean, I can even like because this is usually the setup that I use for sponsored streams. It's like I can put Zeeg New York in there. Um, or like for instance, let's see. Come on, where are you? There we go. I think that looks better. Wouldn't you guys agree? Adam's not here, so he doesn't get the sponsor spot. Oh, we need E1 3. This guy. Yeah, right. I legit have a net navi. Speaking of retro franchises, that is another one that never made as big of a comeback as Mario. Not that Mario needed a comeback, but you know what I mean. So like when it comes to games that were on the original NES, you know, you had Legend of Zelda, you had well, not Sonic. Sonic was Sega, but like, you know, Mario and Legend of Zelda are still hanging on pretty tight. Sonic fell by the wayside. What about Mega Man? You know, I don't I stopped playing Mega Man after Mega Man 4. Um, and yeah, I mean, new Mega Mans just don't do it for me. Uh-oh. What did I miss here? Thank you for fixing my my sponsored tab. I appreciate it. Never had somebody live post one of my streams before, so that's a first for me. All right. Guess what, guys? We made it to page 6. I think we can hang around for another 30 minutes to do the body. What do you guys think? Heck, it might even... Well, hmm. Or do I try and hit the hobby shop on the way to pick up my kid? Yeah. We'll just stick with this for now. Okay, so let me clarify because yes, you are saying I have too many projects. This is correct. However, one of those projects does involve me getting some things from the hobby shop, namely paints. Um, B6 and 7. It'll actually be another first for me. Is I've actually never used like the Tamiya acrylics, but I want to give them a shot. You guys know me, I am notoriously cheap, and so my preferred paints are either the classic deco art or I will use the Vallejo model colors, you know, when I'm feeling extra spicy and want to use a quality product. But I've never actually used the Tamiya paints, and having watched a lot of Japanese builders recently, I'm like, man, maybe I just need to bite the bullet and use some quality paints instead of always cheaping out on everything. Even though it does, you know, kind of go against the stuff that I believe in, right? Like, I believe in making the hobby more accessible, obviously. Um, Come on. Oh, no, you just plug it in and then turn it up. I'm an idiot. Okay. I don't understand what I'm doing here. Lifreth with the cyan one. Yes. Wait. That's the one you wanted before, was the Lefreth right? Hmm. Yeah, the Lefreth. I have not grabbed it yet. They have a ton of them there, so I can grab it for you. Uh, I'll check the price when I'm there and let you know. Um, oh, going back to the Mega Man conversation, yes, you can milk the hell out of the classic era Mega Mans. Okay, so Turbo Dork. Never used Turbo Dork paint either, though do have a crap ton of other paints, including Tamiya and Gaia. Yeah, have not used either of those. I've never used like a legit Gundam paint. Right? What a shame. For shame. So this is where it's like, these parts are so snug. There's this like peg joint that goes in here, and then you have to rotate it on this axis. Okay. So that's what it's supposed to look like, because you clip the waist skirts on here and all that good stuff. All right. Let's see here. C123. I am a little upset because I saw that there's a builder on Twitter that I really like, and he uses a very particular brand of fluorescent paint that I am not familiar with and have not been able to find available for sale. I still have my kind of cheapo ones that I got on Amazon, but the one that he had is actually thin enough that it can actually be airbrushed, which is kind of cool. I would love to do that. Well, not the airbrushing part, but just having a paint that has finer pigments than the ones that I have so that I can actually thin it out enough that I can paint it onto really thin parts. This is the same paint that I've used in the past to try and make glow in the dark parts. Um, his looks so much better though. Like he had some heat knives and it was like this UV paint, and he painted the blades silver but put just enough of the UV paint on top that when you shine the UV light on it, you get the effect. I still think it would be cool to use some like thermoconductive paints, particularly with like exam or Hades parts, because you know how like the vents on the chest of the Blue Destiny or the Pale Rider change color depending on whether it's in active mode or not. There's no real way to replicate that with LEDs in a convincing way, so I think it would be cool if it was like, just use a little blow dryer on it and heat it up. I found some that aren't too ridiculous. It's like at 77 degrees it changes color. So that's not bad. It's not so bad that, it would melt the Gunpla if we were to use it. Um Wait a second. Does it want me to snap these off? What are you talking about? Do I have to snap this off and then reconnect it? That's exactly what it wants you to do. What is this silliness? All right, and then we need E120. Neat. Oh yeah, 77 degrees when heated. Like that's what yeah, at 77 degrees Fahrenheit is when it changes color. They also have ones that are like at 85, but that's way too hot, I think. All right. Yeah, that's my reaction too. Another Cyber Dragon expansion? Or my phrasing would be like another Cyber Dragon expansion. All right. Now let's see what else we need to do for this. So it says we need to flip these guys out. It's like why make it so that you have to twist these parts before you have like a decent amount of leverage on them, and then it's like you can't grab it with anything. All right, we need A37. So I suppose that's why they got away from the whole inner frame gimmick that was really popular when these first came out. And then A30. Am I an idiot? Like G24. Finally, we get some purple. No, here's the G. Man, this is some. Oh, so this is ABS. I was like, this is some hard plastic. That explains it. I've been learning a lot about different plastics. I feel like I've been working on this video for like 2 years, but as far as like recycling runners and that sort of thing, um, ABS is such a unique material to work with for a number of reasons. I assume it's cheaper because most um, most of the bootleg kits that are out there are ABS instead of polystyrene. Um, it's also a little more toxic to work with than polystyrene. Um, Other attributes about it are that it is very sensitive to solvents, which can be a good and a bad thing. On the one hand, it means that when you go to paint it with things that are like lacquer paints, you risk melting your ABS parts. But as a positive, that means that when you're working with stuff like this, your Mr. Cement, working with ABS parts means that you're going to be able to seal those seams a lot easier than with polystyrene, which is going to take more in order to melt. So there's pluses and minuses to it. And you can always paint with acrylics. So that's always acrylics are not going to damage your ABS parts. But it makes it so that these parts are basically non-recyclable. So that's the other downside to them, is that with polystyrene, even though it is one of the more toxic forms of plastic, it is still recyclable. The only issues that you're going to run into are, um, you know, making sure that you don't mix colors, because obviously different colors, different additives are going to have different chemical reactions. They're going to melt at different points. These are things that, of course, Bandai already knows, and so they know exactly which types of runners they can melt down. The safest and easiest uh, plastic to work with and recycle is polycaps, the high density polyethylene material. So, speaking of outside decorations, the house we bought is red, and I told my husband one day I want to add a mono eye to the attic vent. He vetoed that idea real quick. Oh, come on. That's cool though, that you got a red house, honestly. Like, I can imagine that that looks real nice. What am I doing here? No, I'm kidding. Am I kidding? There we go. That's what I needed. So now it flips out, or it's supposed to flip out. Maybe it just gently hangs over the side like that. Interesting. A28. Yeah, as long as you don't have some goofy explanation like delimiters and we deactivated the delimiters on our house. I'm sure you guys know I've always hated that explanation for Char's mobile suit being fast. First of all, and I think I pointed this out during the second episode of Dissecting Gundam. First of all, they never say that Char's mobile suit moves 3 times faster than other mobile suits. In the original series, what they say is that the red mobile suit is approaching 3 times faster than the other mobile suits. That doesn't mean that the max speed was higher. It just means that he was going faster than the other Zakus that were approaching. It wasn't until later that they came up with the whole, you know, his Zaku's faster. No, actually, like, it's faster. And then even then, my favorite explanation was that he springboards off of the Salamuses, and that was what allowed him to use momentum to go faster than other mobile suits. Is this right? This seems like such a big gap to have here, but I guess so. I feel like this should go a little deeper in. Am I wrong? I think I see the problem here is that this guy needs to come down. Okay, nothing broken. Wait a second. Do I have this right? I think I installed this upside down. Let's see. What did I miss here? I deactivated the limiter on my house. I rigged the front door to explode. Don't say that. We had foundation issues. I feel like an ace unit would have better propulsion systems, though. Let's be honest, that was a cool concept, though. Something we rarely see. Yeah, exactly. I think that you having it be like a tactical thing that he does because he's a ace pilot is a cooler explanation than just like super robot. Um, which kind of goes back to the conversation that we were having on the Discord earlier, you guys, which is like, as much as people like to say, "Oh, I only like Gundam because it's a real robot show, it's not super robot," it's like Gundam is about as super robot as it gets. And that's not a bad thing. Like there's nothing wrong with like like I said, I think that there's just this like cope around, well, I don't want to be one of these guys that likes a super robot show. E1, 15, and 16. And I think a lot of that comes back to like the old high school days when, people would get bullied for liking anime. Now, I was never one of those kids that did the Naruto run. First of all, I think Naruto was a little past my time. I never liked Naruto. And even then, it's like I enjoyed Dragon Ball Z because I was watching it with my brothers, but it's not like I would not have watched Dragon Ball Z on my own accord because as much as I like The Last Dragon, I'm not big into like martial arts stuff. Um like kung fu movies, there's only a few that I really like. Whereas, mecha and sci-fi, that is definitely more up my alley. There we go. Mecha shows are just power fantasies in giant robots. Pretty much. And there's nothing wrong with that. We don't judge. We listen, and not only do we not judge, we actively encourage. All right, torso is coming together here. I think I didn't miss anything. I always find it weird that people got bullied for liking anime, but the Bronx was weeby as hell. Yeah, it's just different times, different folks. And maybe it's just because I myself was like a dork. Did I have to do my science project on testing different metals to see which one would compose Gundanium alloy? No. And use water displacement to test for Gundanium? That might have been on me. um, there we go. Dan here in chat. Sorry you had to step away. Hopefully everything's okay. But yeah, to be honest, Gundam has always been one of the least real of the real robot series. Lots of retained super robot DNA there. 100%. 100%. And I mean, if you think about it, the fact that it was designed as, or like the series was intended to appeal to kids and, sell toys, it had to be at least somewhat super robot. In fact, Sunrise would bully Tomino about not having enough super robotness in it. Why doesn't Gundam have a rocket punch? That's why the toys aren't selling. Or could it be that he didn't want it? Okay, so this is an interesting fit, the way that this works. So this turns up like that. This goes in here, I guess, and then flips up. Okay. And then it installs on the front of the chest. There we go. Do I have... Thought I had some tweezers handy. Let's just grab these real quick, because there's this like one panel that's not quite sitting straight. There we go. Wait, is that why Zeong has incom hands so it can do a rocket punch? Probably. No, I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate on that, but yeah, that was legit one of the criticisms that Sunrise producers gave to Tomino was why doesn't Gundam have a rocket punch? Like I think like Gaio Gaigar or Grendizer or one of the other super robots that was popular at the time. Um, but again, yeah, I can suspend disbelief enough to say, is Gundam real robot? No, I still like it, and it's definitely more real robot than Gaio Gaigar. I think that having it as a dichotomy like that, saying that it either is or isn't, is part of the problem. I think that being a super robot show exists on a spectrum. Uh, Transformers, for instance, wasn't always super robot until the movie, and they introduced like the Autobot Matrix and that kind of stuff. Is like um, I think that that was much more real robot when it started out, even though they were sentient robots. They were much more realistic than some other stuff. Maybe that's just my opinion. Here we go. Hey, what's going on? Good to see you in chat 16 times a second, or Barry as you are sometimes called. Now that I actually understand the 16 times a second reference, it makes so much more sense to me. So I appreciate you explaining that to me. Looks like we might have a special guest star on stream. Sammy. Sammy, don't... You're getting a little too close to these nippers for my taste. Alright, so pegs go down. The little exposed part goes back. Slides in here. Oh, that's cool. Those are like the tiniest little Vulcans I've ever seen in my life. We've got our chest unit, which is going to snap into place here. That's cool. So that's the cockpit, right? I love mobile suits that have the opening cockpit hatch gimmick. Um, it's one of the things like on the old school uh, GM ground type and Easy 8. So this is before like the high grade upgrades of those kits. They actually had the opening like cockpit hatch on the chest. The Easy 8 even has like you can do the thing like in the show where the armor plate slides forward and it's got like all of the internals, which just, it's so interesting to me some of the stuff that they had on older kits that um just some of the enhanced details and what they chose to retain versus what they got rid of with the high grade upgrades, so to speak. Um, yeah, at this point you need a dedicated cat cam, probably. I'm gonna finish. I'm trying to finish a mud rock before the 4th. Sweet, I am excited to see that. Is it that P Bandai mud rock? Because I love that thing. I don't have one, but doesn't stop me from loving it. So my question is, uh, are you building the incomplete version of the mud rock or the final form mud rock? Because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the incomplete version a little more. And Ultronimus says, I loved the opening cockpit on the Berserk Fury and Red Shield Liger. Yeah, even if there's not a pilot in there, it's just sometimes cool to have like the opening cockpit. So this is 24, which means it goes on this side, I believe. Oh yeah, this is coming together pretty nicely. Oh, Ultraman 66. Are 30-minute missions compatible together with Gunpla? Uh, Short answer, yes and no. It does depend on the Gunpla. Yeah, Ultronimus says it there. It really does depend on the line of Gunpla because, you know, some Gunpla use different joint orientations and stuff. The short answer is that because they use the same like little 3mm pegs, there's a lot of crossover that you can do. But you know, as far as like backpacks, for instance, like let's see, this is the build Lightning Zeta high grade. Let's see what the backpack on him looks like. This one's actually probably a terrible example because it has a custom backpack. Yeah, this is a terrible example to use. Come on. So yeah, because he has a custom square peg backpack, you probably could not use any 30-minute missions parts. Same thing with the shield slots on the wrists. So unfortunately, not compatible with build Lightning Zeta. Probably compatible with entry grade Gundam though. That was crazy. His waist fell off and it landed like standing upright. Man, this is such a dope looking Zeta though. I need to finish like customizing it. Uh Maybe I'll see if somebody has like instructions for how to make it transform because that's the only thing that this Zeta misses is that it sacrifices the transformation gimmick. Like it doesn't even have a parts forming version. And part of it is that the knees wouldn't be able to fold backwards the way that the original ones did because of these giant kneecaps. Um, so I don't know. Maybe that will be my next mission. But no, no, we already have too many projects on the slate. Transforming Lightning Zeta will have to we'll have to delay for at least a little longer. Unless someone has a video or like not a you know whether it's a video or even written instructions. If somebody can find me somebody who has made it into a transforming Zeta, and I can copy their methods, then maybe I'll do it sooner. But in my initial search, I was unable to find anybody who has made it into a transformation. And I think this is so we had like a conversation on the Discord the other day about like AI and where AI can be beneficial versus where it's just manipulative and wrong, right? One thing that I think AI does really well is search engines. Like I love being able to tell like Perplexity or ChatGPT exactly what I'm looking for because if you were to search right now Lightning Zeta Gundam transform, you're not going to get very many good results from Google. You're going to get a lot of people on Reddit that said like, "Does this kit transform?" And it's like, that's not what I want. I want to see someone who has made it transform. So being able to talk to a large language model and say, "Can you show me examples of someone who has taken the high grade Lightning Zeta Gundam model kit and made it into a transforming like it's very good at that type of stuff. When you have like a vague search term that isn't going to return a lot of quality results, it has the ability to parse what you're looking for exactly. Now, where it sucks and what AI is dumb for is for actually creating the content. If you were to try and plug into ChatGPT, make me a video that shows converting this Gunpla into a transforming Gunpla, that would be lame. And anybody who can't tell the difference between those two like applications of AI as far as like, you know, just using AI in general, if you can't tell the difference between those two different use cases, then, you know, there might not be any hope for you. All right. This is looking pretty badass so far. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I wish that I still had my real great Epion over here, because then we could put them side by side and have a little comparison shot. Throwback to when Oz tried to make AI mobile dolls. Yep, exactly. Down with the mobile dolls. There's no honor to be had from them. So yeah, shout out to Ultronimus. This is really dope looking so far. And it's been a fun, like it's an enjoyable build. That's the one thing I gotta say about real grades in general is like we've talked about this before on the channel is when it comes to like what's your preferred grade to build. Like real grades are far and away the most enjoyable build experience. Like they just are. If you're not doing any like crazy customizations, like if you're just doing a straight build and you're going to leave it, you know, in stock colors and stuff, these are perfect. Like there's nothing I would change about this. I love the knee armor gimmick where it's like it separates. That is so awesome. It feels sturdy. It feels it feels sturdy. It feels more like an action figure than a model kit, which is pretty cool. I say as the leg pops off, but that's just because of the way that I was moving it. No, I mean it does feel sturdier than like a model kit. It feels more like a premium action figure. And the joints are just really stiff is all, which, you know, that's part of like getting the new kit flex out of it. Yeah, I am really excited with how this is coming together. Might even make me a Seed fan. Who knows? Um, yeah, see, there you go. Alter says the best design, in my opinion, kind of like taking the aesthetic of the old mobile suit and action figures to the next step in its evolution. Agreed. Nintendo Gal, I want a real grade F91. that makes one of us. Everyone here knows that I'm not a huge F91 guy, but that's, that's a me thing. That's not a you thing. um, so yeah, apologies, Alter, because like here you are arriving just in time for me to check out so that I can go grab my kid, get stuff for dinner, and do, do that stuff. Before I do sign off here, what I am gonna do is, like I said, I wanted to give Adam the promotional image. I don't know how well it's gonna work because it's not complete yet, but let me move these. We're gonna arrange these out. My tools. And maybe I need to like adjust this slightly. So that we can get the entire thing in frame. Man, I wish I had more room to like slide this down just a little bit further. There we go. Perfect. What say you guys? Well, let me clear that. Bring it forward just a little bit. No, don't fall over. There we go. Promotional image of the Gundam Explained Gunpla Builders mat. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thank you, Ultronimus, for providing the justice in real grade. We are going to finish this kit, maybe not by New Year's, but we are going to stream more of this later this week, and we are going to finish it then, because honestly, this thing is flying by. Like, we already have the legs and the torso. All we need are the wings, the arms, and the head. That's a pretty easy ask. So thank you guys again so much for hanging out. Have a safe and happy new year. We will see you on stream tomorrow, of course, for the standard time, standard bat show, Midnight Hatter Live, featuring Adam Blue. And yeah, stick to your resolutions. I will try to stick to mine. Like I said, I've got some exciting stuff planned for you, and it looks like maybe I'll be able to get GBO2 running on this Fire Stick. After all, I'll let you guys know what we come up with. Until next time, thank you guys so much. Again, Happy New Year. See you next year. Be safe. Have fun tonight. Take a shot for me. Cheers, everyone.